All right, y'all. We are here. We got a special show for you today. This one is definitely going to be legendary in the books. Of course, you have me, and we're going to go with our nicknames today. So I am the professor, and then to my right, that you can't see, is Rod, but to my left is Gyland, who is the educator, and then to the left of him is the poet. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Doing all right.
We good.
Fine as frog hair.
Oh yeah. All right. How are they sounding, engineer? Are they sounding right? Now, we are men, so we gotta make sure that our voice carries, right? We are strong men. So when we speak on the mic, yeah.
Sure thing, bro.
Wow. It's gonna be a long night. All right, but for real though, let's get into tonight's topic. I think it's perfect. Tonight, uh, Samuel walked in, and it was something that was on his mind. And just unpack it for us, just give us the topic, and then we're gonna roll it out, and we'll do a round robin.
The topic is why, as a race of people as African Americans, that we're still divided, dismissive, and we speak from our emotions, and we're so separated. And I don't know if a lot of people really feel that way or are concerned about it or can see it. But for me, at 55 years old, it's frightening for me.
Okay. All right. So I'll tell you from my perspective, right? I mean, one, we have slavery, which is obvious, right? We were pulled from the continent. We were stripped of our culture, our language. We were broken up. And then once slavery ended, we went into Jim Crow, redlining, and all these different things until we find ourselves here today. And integration has actually caused us, I think, more harm than having a level of segregation. So when you look at the indigenous people here, many of them have been able to hold on to some of their language, some of their culture. They have their own government. They have their sovereignty. And with us losing that, we're confused as a people. We don't know if we want to be European Americans and be there. We don't know if we want to be what this new thing is Black Americans. I consider myself a foundational Black American because my ancestors were taken from Africa and then here and then generation after generation after generation. I'm a Black American, so I identify as foundational Black American, right? But I think that's what we have is we're confused. So we're not sure what we are. Some of us are religious. Some of us are atheists or agnostic. And we've got Muslims, right? And we look at the Minister Farrakhan, right? He's done some really powerful things with the NOI, but that's not Christian based. So us Christians can identify with that, right? Uh, but how they carry themselves is pretty powerful. So that's my thought on it. Rod, what's your thoughts on why you think as a people we're having so much trouble now?
I think it's because we don't have a sense of unity. I think a thing that I see the most is everything we do as a people, we try to do better than each other instead of pulling each other up and including each other in everything. So we, as long as there is a lack of unity, there's going to be a rift in the Black community anyway.
All right. Yeah, it's your turn.
So what are you looking for the biblical reason or are you just looking for
give us first your reason and then give us the biblical reason. And if they're the same, then give us that.
From what I've been learning, basically, it seems like as a people, we're out of order.
Elaborate.
Well, slavery was a big cause of it because it took the man from being the head of his household to being not only embarrassed, but it left the women feeling that her man can't protect her from the abuse of the slave master. So forced to raise their children on their own without the male role model. Even at one point in history, we were moving in a good direction with the Black Panthers because they were actually had classes where they were teaching men their roles and women their roles. But when that got broken up, we kind of just fell apart after that. Well, along with the drugs being brought into the community, that just that just broke us up, and we haven't really figured our way back from that. And I don't know if we, as a people, I don't know if we want to right now, at least in this present generation. I don't know if they really care. They're not really focused on why we're in this situation. They're focused on I know some are focused on chasing the bag or figuring out how they're gonna get money quick. But I don't think we really focus. Well, I don't think as a majority we don't focus on how do we get back, how do we get right in the home first.
Yeah. So Alicia's pulling up some Bible scriptures for us. I'm gonna go ahead and come back to you, Samuel. One of the things that you said that was powerful that your why is that folks don't want to. But go ahead, Samuel.
I'll just say this, and I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way, but it's like about 10 years ago, a house from the $250,000 was a lot of house for a person in this state. This is a big military town. It's a big Boeing town, but still there was a lot of house. And then it went from 250 to maybe 400, and now we're seeing houses up into the 600,000. We've seen rising costs of food. We've seen rising costs of childcare. We've seen rising costs of insurance rates. We understand those costs, but we don't understand the cost of freedom. And I think that's what's tearing us, is we don't understand that someone was murdered, someone was beaten, someone was spat on, someone had to run for their life. We understand every other cost, but we don't understand the cost of freedom. And I think
we don't understand the cost of freedom.
We have forgotten that cost. That's what the problem is. So this new generation, we just have forgotten what the people before had to endure to even get to this point.
I don't,
it's hard to get people to want something that they feel they already have.
But isn't that part of us losing our culture, right? So as we progress through slavery until we find ourselves now, we've lost our traditions, right? We don't sit around the dinner table on Sunday night. You got the Bible?
No, this is our culture.
But what happened?
Well,
we're not adhering to it.
So one, they don't. As a whole, we don't know that this is our culture. We don't know this is pertaining to our history. So again,
and he's holding up the Bible for those of you that can't see. He's holding the Bible.
So again, until we learn our identity, then you can learn. Okay, this is who we are. Okay, let's see what our culture was like, and then let's decide. Okay, do we want to go back in that route? Which the Old Testament.
Jump in.
Me personally, and I'm not trying to irritate nobody. This is just just stuff that I see.
Yeah,
you're more apt to go to a church. The more African American people attend and hear a sermon about Popeye's chicken. You're more apt to hear a sermon about pants sagging. So today we look at things that we want to know that that's my dad, or that's my car, or that bag is black. But when you start reading the Bible, and everybody has their own interpretation, and it doesn't specifically say that you are this and this will happen. It's just like no one knows when Christ will be, when God returns. Not even the Son knows. So there's a lot of mysteries. The Bible is a book of destiny as well as decisions. So when we have various people, various scholars arguing about the Bible, and no one can really interpret it the way, or is there a way it can't be interpreted? So we just still.
But aren't we supposed to be doing that through the Spirit and through God to guide us?
Yes, but everybody knows who's who in the Bible but us.
Elaborate.
You go into other countries, they're pulling out stuff like old ancient art,
Black Madonnas,
that showing like the Last Supper.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's black. And that's our, so that particular piece that was from Russia. So why is people hiding art that they already had?
So what would you say to those that would say it's just Russian propaganda? I mean, we know that these artifacts are also in the Vatican, but I mean, what do you say to folks like that?
so
they exist more than just Russia. I'm answering my own question.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that should spark the conversations. So why are these things being hidden?
So answer this: if
and that conspiracy is also in the Bible.
So is it really?
It is.
Do you know about that conspiracy, Samuel?
No, but I want to hear it.
Yeah.
So
hey, you brought it up.
So I don't have my notes that tell me specifically where, but there's a verse that said the people around Israel will conspire you from being a nation. And you will also be a byword to the rest of the world.
See if you can.
So we are the only people that who has identity has changed multiple times since we've been here. We are the only people that parallel the people of Egypt, who have been enslaved for over 400 years, and we're the only people that has been enslaved by ships. So our history is in there. It will tell you who we are. People have to read, and then you have to be able to at least put two and two together, and look at history and say, okay, ask the question: who else has been enslaved by ships? Because we were on ships like sardines. Now there's been bits and pieces of there've been some pirateering going on, but not on the scale that we were brought over here. And not for how long and how we were mistreated over here. So that when the Pope said, okay, we know who these people are, they're only going to be 3/5 human, considered 3/5 human. So everybody from Spain and all of European countries all agreed.
So let me phrase it this way. I'm going to go to Rod, then I'm going to go to Samuel. In some households, we have a picture of a black Jesus. How many of us have seen the picture of black Jesus? You never seen the picture of black Jesus? You ain't never seen the picture of black Jesus?
Well, I've seen the picture.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
So have you seen a picture of black Jesus? Yeah. So I bring that up as an example just to say that there are some black Christians that understand where the cradle of humanity is, where all the stuff took place in the Bible.
Yeah, but they have black Jesus with long hair, right?
No, he got an afro.
He got an afro? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Or he got the knots.
Yeah, but
is that an understanding, or is that just
hope?
I'm a black person,
yeah,
so I'm gonna put a black Jesus up there. I sometimes I wonder if that's actually, I know that it's the cradle of civilization. I know that my Jesus is this color. Or is it, this is a black household. I'm not going to put a white Jesus up there. I'm going to put a black Jesus up there. So I don't think.
So it's a defiance.
Yeah.
Not an understanding.
I don't think it's an understanding at all. I think it's more of, I'm black, my Jesus is black, and that's it. And they probably don't even know why they're saying that, except for the fact that I'm not going to have my friends come to my house and see a white Jesus in there.
But they don't know. They don't even know why things have been whitewashed. So when they did the Crusades, that was the main reason they had to whitewash everything, because the people they didn't feel right killing people that looked like the Christ who were black. So in order to kill them black people, they had to whitewash everything. So that's why we have this the images we have now.
So let me phrase the question. I'm gonna go to Rod and then Samuel. So there are black churches that still persist today, and there are still some strong black churches. There's some weak black churches also, right? But there are some strong black churches. Why are we struggling today when there are strong black churches that are trying to live a Bible Christian house of God doctrine? Where are we falling short?
I guess I'll go through my own experiences. The churches I went through were predominantly black churches. You're looking at, I started in Southern Baptist. I'm from Arkansas. And then it progressed into Pentecostal. And as a kid, the main reason why I didn't want to go to church was because it was too long.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy. It's just whatnot.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I could get past the length of time church was. What I didn't, I don't know if I say what I didn't bond to is the fact that my preachers in the churches I went to were always yelling at me, yelling the Bible. And then they yell all these scriptures at you. And then when you're done, there's no question and answer session. There's no, well, what does that mean? You just get yelled at about hellfire and brimstone, and then you go home. And that was the extent of my experiences in the black church. And so I think what you're finding is a lot of even the younger black people now are just, I'm not going to a place where they just yell at you all day. I'm not learning nothing anyway. Church is becoming a turnoff to our people because of the delivery method, not so much the message, because the message is still the message, but you could take one word, deliver it two ways, and it comes across different depending on the delivery. So that was my experiences. I can't speak to anyone else, but for me, it was just that problem right there.
Okay. Samuel?
Even though I wasn't raised with this brother here, I see the same thing, and I'll add another layer. Every church I've been to have been there's no such thing as a black church, but where most African Americans go to church. It's about money. It's about leaderships. It's about positioning, and it's about different programs. And it's not really effectively teaching the word of God. And there was something that was said earlier where you go to church and we're all sitting here, but at least when I go to school, someone's going to ask me, can you go to the board and finish this equation? Okay, you stop right there. Now you go to finish it off to make sure I understand. So in church, we're made to say amen, but our life is falling apart. And no one checks on you. Even in the military, when you run, people fall behind, you wag the train. Vietnam, we got those soldiers. So when we're going to church, how are we bringing up the next level of ministers and deacons when the actual pastor of the church is fearful of his position? He's fearful that, like when a teacher is paying back a student loan and she stand up late, check papers, when she has that one student that just seems like totally, I'm with you, I'm here to learn, and I'm asking questions. When the pastor, an African American, a pastor where African American people attend, when he see that hunger, because I've been there, he see that hunger in somebody's eyes, he looks at his position falling, and so then you start, and we think that's preaching. We think Hollinger and Charlotte is preaching, and it's all about position. It's all money making, and these you have the NFL and you have the USFL. So if you're not a pastor that could be on TBN, then you're striving to get there. And how do I get there? By emulating what they have. I don't have the resources, so I preach a watered down word. I don't really go in depth. I don't even really preach from the Bible. I just preach from my memory, and so it's that's just what I see. And today, we have a a problem with two strong parents coming together to be in a home. We have parents who have Saturday, Sundays off or Thursday, Friday off, so one parent can't attend church, and then we have people like uh, this gentleman here, Roderick, where you go to a church now, and someone says that you've just been triggered. You've been triggered. So when I go to church and I'm trying to get the pastor to have a conversation after service about how can I do what you're doing, he's not apt to do it. And that's how I think we're
Yeah, we got to make some changes, definitely.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know how we gonna figure this out, but it's definitely that something needs to be worked on.
So I mean, let's
Brainstorm.
Most people now, like a lot of the good pastors I'm seeing, and I know the delivery actually is a big role, a big part of it. They're online. I mean, they have churches. They're not mega churches, but they're small churches. But they're doing it mostly online, and they have, I don't know if they have a question and answer type thing, but they're not they're not yelling at you, or they're not doing what people call performing. So so we have to figure out a good way for the delivery method. Plays a big role because people, like you said, people don't want to be yelled at, and they need to start. And we can start hearing messages on what's actually going on right now, and with a different delivery, I think I'm hoping we can come to some understanding on it.
So I'm gonna go. Let me start back with Rod, and then go to Samuel, and then back to Guyland. I think people don't know, but it's up for us, iron sharpens iron, to have this dialogue and to come up with some ideas. And so what I want to do is just kind of go around the room, and I want to put yourself in the mindset, frame it as yourself. How would you want the church to engage with you? There's a new church, you walk in, how would you want to be greeted? How would you want the service to go? How would you want the pastor to preach? How would you want it to be where you think it would be effective for you in engaging for you? Because I think how we feel, many brothers are feeling that way. And as we share how we would want to be, they're going to feel that way also. And that will help us kind of create a list.
I actually don't know where I would begin with that because there are just so many aspects of the church that need repairing. I guess for me, I want to know the whole Bible. Growing up, I could probably count 4 or 5 parts of the Bible that were just repeated over and over and over. And since I've been out here and since I've been listening to Guyland and whatnot, I'm learning parts of the Bible I mean, for lack of a better word, didn't even know existed in the Bible because my length of Bible teaching was Joshua and Jericho, Jonah and the whale, Noah and the ark. Those little made for TV movie parts of the Bible, but not the deep parts of the Bible that explain things or why things are. I think for me, it starts with I'm here at this church because I'm in search of something, and I heard you have a book that has many answers to it. I don't know how to interpret this book well to apply it to my life. So I'm going to the quote unquote professional and I'm saying, hey, you know this book. I have this problem. Use your book to help me with this problem. The problem is when I was growing up, the book was telling you if you did this, you're going to hell. That's all the book said to me. Well, I don't want to read that book. I don't want to know nothing about that book. That book's scary. So I don't want to know nothing about that book. I want to know, talk to me about love in the Bible. I'm going through a love crisis. Talk to me about unity in the Bible. I'm going through a separation crisis. I mean, I don't want to hear the same stories. In my church, I want to hear about the whole Bible. Even if it's boring, I still want to hear about it so that I can, once again, go out to other people and maybe speak intelligently about it. That's my church. That's the church I would go to.
Samuel?
I think it would be dismantling the positions in the church. When you go to most African American churches, you can tell what the pastor said. It's the biggest chair. It's the biggest chair. Like we have a constitution in our country. How the church operates off of it needs to be, walking around with ushers and all the theatrics that go into that. All that stuff needs to just be dismantled. We need to have a church where we're not looking to fill seats in the congregation as we're looking to educate people on the Bible and not just coming up. We need to start taking a look at how the African American church looks at tithing. All this money we pour into the church, but we don't see that money coming right back to back to the community. We need to have messages in the Bible that translate to what I'm going on in my personal life. The Bible doesn't mention fentanyl. It doesn't mention crack cocaine. It doesn't mention the Crips and Bloods, but that's what my kid is into. The Bible didn't mention my son to come home. It didn't mention my wife is pregnant by another man. These things are not mentioned. So we have to have a concerted effort on how we have church on Sunday, but we also have it in the community where we have a community-based church where all these things are talked about and they're discussed. And we have to have people in the church who don't hide behind your suit and don't hide behind your shoes and don't hide behind your job and your car and this kind of stuff. I just think what's going to make a church successful is if we have a throwback mentality of when our grandmothers and our grandparents went to church. A throwback mentality. The church I want to go to.
I like that.
Garland? You're in deep thought there.
Yeah, he is.
Look like a Jedi monk over there.
You about to bring word.
Well, I mean, so the Bible tells you how to run a church, and it tells you the organization it's supposed to be in. But
don't hold back.
The churches, a lot of the churches we have here don't necessarily follow that completely. But you have to look at who teaches seminary. And the first seminaries that we learned from here were probably Catholic seminaries. That's what our public education system is built on. So henceforth, sitting down for so many hours, just absorbing, and not a lot of question and answers. Because in our original culture, that's how we will function. You had the teacher or whoever had the wisdom or whatever, or the priests. They would go back and forth. So they would tell you, look, this is what you do, but they could ask questions. Because our culture is supposed to be, like our tribe is supposed to be a tribe of priests. But yet we don't know that because we won't go find the answers. So if we can start having people want to find the answers, want to know, we can point them in the right direction. Because if people don't want to know, if people don't care, and they happy where we at, then this is what you're gonna get. But I do know there are some pastors who are trying to go and follow, operate their church the way God is telling them to operate it. So it may not be what we consider enough of those, but they are around. They may just be hard to find. And we pray they're not hiding in the caves because of the times that we in. And yeah, it's time. It's a lot of work got to be done. So one way or another, we're gonna be forced to step into the pot and
all right.
get some work in.
So summarize it, because you said a lot. Again, what does that church look like to you? What
the Bible gives a absolute.
So you're going to describe that to us.
It breaks it down. So it breaks down the position of the priests and what they were supposed to be doing. It gives you because I don't know all the verbal details. You got to read.
Well, just give us the.
But I just read
30,000 foot level of the things that
I know
intrigued you. That you were like, okay.
Well, what intrigued me is that we come from the tribe of Levi, which was the tribe of the priests, and it was like if Old Testament style is like they couldn't go into the temple unless they were sanctified. If they went in the temple without being sanctified, they didn't come out the temple. They had to be carried out.
Wow.
Because in the Old Testament, God didn't play. He wanted you to be sanctified before you come in, and especially in the what they call the holiest of the holies room and the mercy seat. It was a reason why he was that harsh back then, because he had rules set up. So
it sounds like you saying that many Christians and just people period don't take church serious.
No, I'm saying in the Old Testament it was a lot more serious.
I know, but I'm saying if we held it
to the same standard, yeah, we all would.
Well, I'm not talking about stoning folks.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the church people would be.
Well,
because we have
they had to be more responsible then, because they were in charge. The Levites were in charge of the 11 other tribes, so they had to say, okay, look, they were in charge of getting everybody's sins forgiven. Well, so they were responsible for everybody else's. So they was like, okay, look, this is what you got to do. These are the feasts we're gonna have. These are all the laws that God has given us, and this is how you please God.
So I'll give you an example, right? We've got churches today that have other religions in their building. We got churches today where they have alcohol and other parties in their building, right? These are just examples, right? We've got churches today. You couldn't chew gum in the sanctuary. I'm seeing people eating in the sanctuary. Like, you're eating in the sanctuary? That's what I mean by it is no longer a holy place, right? That used to be a thing. You didn't.
Where you couldn't chew gum in the sanctuary?
You couldn't chew gum. Yeah. That was a holy spot. You were going to adhere to that. Whether or not you knew the Lord or not. You could be a guest, but that's not what we do here, baby. You know? And you would get checked on that. Okay. That doesn't happen now.
Yeah. They don't want to push that dollar out. And that's what it is. It's like, when I was growing up, you had gum in your mouth, you were in trouble. The end of story. They had strong values of the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Like Marwan said, you don't eat in the sanctuary. You went in the basement and had your little food and whatnot. But once you entered that sanctuary, everything becomes holy.
It was respected. And it was revered.
High respect.
So that's where the problem is. There's no respect.
Yeah.
But it could. But again, if certain places are chasing the money, then they may not want to push that dollar out. But at the end of the day, everybody got to be judged. And if you were called to that position to lead a church,
Alicia, you had a Bible verse. You want to put that up on the big screen and I'll read it? Oh, just throw it up on the big screen and I'll read it. Just get the first one up there.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'll share mine. I've shared with you brothers. I've gone into many churches and not felt welcome. Right. Who is you? Who's your people? That's what I get. Right. So automatically, I feel well, this ain't my spot. I know. I'm just telling you how I feel. Right. This has been my
But
experience.
they should make you feel welcome.
They should make you feel welcome.
But they should keep an eye on you. I
just came into the church to visit the church.
But if they don't know you,
but if that's how you're going to regard me, then I tell you what, I'm not coming back. I'm good.
They welcome you in there,
but I wasn't welcomed.
So
there's a way that you can welcome.
It is a way to be welcome, and it is a way to have discernment without making a person feel unwelcome. But
so it's like God says, "Come as you are." Whose people you is? If that's what I get right at the door and I get it from multiple people, I might stay for the service because I was invited there by someone that didn't know that I was.
But after you,
I'll never be back.
But did you tell them where you from or what?
Yeah, I told them who my people were.
Oh, okay.
Did
they make you feel welcome after that?
No.
Oh, see, that's where the problem lies.
But you shouldn't regard me like that. The most comfortable I've ever been was St. Paul, just white church here that used to be on Sheridan. Now it's a Hispanic church. Went in there, ain't no black folks in there. They're all white. My dad loved it because he played the pipe organ, right? So he would go there and visit. They had a pipe organ in there. How you doing? So glad that you came. And they just introduced themselves. They would ask me about myself. They would tell me about themselves and invite me to sit and worship, right? I'm like, man, I've never felt so welcome. Now, have I been to some black churches in the area where they haven't been so hostile?
All right, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So you heard of the stories where people come in churches and they start shooting people, right?
Wow.
I'm just asking the question.
So what black folks have come to the church shooting people?
No, I'm asking the question.
Yes, I have heard that.
So have you heard of any white churches come in and people were shooting at the white churches?
In the white churches?
Yeah, I'm asking.
At least you're saying yes, so I'm going to say yeah.
In Texas.
Okay, so that's Texas. But so the people, when they see new people, they should ask you, oh, well, what church are you visiting from?
Mm-hmm.
They need to have a discernment.
Do you see your tone? That is not the tone that I got. You see what I'm saying?
Because I know how to. But see, I got security experience. So I know how to question somebody without having to go on to the main, defensive mode.
Jump in, Samuel, and I'll come back on mine. Y'all just tearing my stuff down. Like this is my experience. Like, hell.
So this may not make sense.
Go ahead.
So you got us four we in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. What man? Vietnam? No. Wow. Okay, go ahead. This went dark quick.
Yeah. So we all in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm the point man. So my job is to go out here and make sure that we can move forward without any
he got the most dangerous job.
Taking any fire or landmines, whatever. I'm 18. I'm a private. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I didn't have the full 8 weeks of basic training. I was rushed because we had to get these, take the hill, whatever the mission is. So I get shot. I get shot in the thigh. It's a clean entry, but I know I'm going to get on that chopper and I'm getting out of here. When people come to a church, they're coming from some unbearable circumstances. And the last thing I want to do or feel is I'm unwelcomed here. I want people to say, hey, come on in here. What church you from? What church you from, young man? You come sit up here. You got your Bible with you? And I understand what you're saying because I have went to some churches where I was asking a lady, could I be a part of a ministry? And she said, well, you got to prove yourself. And prove myself, so I would go to a church and her husband was a pastor. And when her church began to fail, her own husband, he took delight in watching you fail. But she could have just went past her friends and said, well, this man is here again. Let me use him. But it's like I said, I just make a long story short. I just think in churches where African American people go to is just too, it's territorial. We don't know you. Look at what he's wearing. Why is he wearing that dress? It's all I had.
Oh.
What's with this brother?
That's our problem.
It's like we can't stop the check cashing system at Walmart because I wrote a bad check. So because somebody got shot in that church, it don't mean I'm going to hear and pull a gun on somebody. But I just think that the churches that we have as African American churches, they just need a massive overhaul.
So I appreciate that. Your example of Vietnam is actually pretty visceral, right? And it makes sense because that's how you feel, right? I'm coming to church. You don't know what state I'm in, right? I could be on my last. I'm trying to battle this addiction, trying to get off this fentanyl, this alcohol, porn, whatever I'm trying to fight. And here I am because someone told me to go to church, or it was in my mind, and this is the last stop. And as soon as I walk in, who people you with?
Yeah.
Because
you used to have the discernment when you see somebody, you should know, oh, they need some help. Let me bring them in.
But even if they look good,
doesn't matter if they look good. The discernment should tell you what kind of spirit they have. If they coming in the spirit of they need some help, they in dire, they in crisis, or if they just.
But I'm only going to push back on that, only to say if they're that in tune, that's fine.
Yeah,
but you need to train your church members that anyone that walks in that door that you don't recognize, that you make them feel comfortable. And even from a security standpoint, you're still engaging with a stranger.
Yeah.
To introduce yourself.
But there has to be a fine line between judgment and discernment. You're judging me. You're judging me.
Yeah.
If I went to a barbershop one night.
Well, hold on. Before you get to the story, because I want to tell my piece here. Y'all just chewing me up. Just chewing my little piece up. Let me read the verses, and then I'll jump in there, just so we don't get too far away from those. Yeah, go ahead. Just put them on, and I'll read them. All right, so the first one is from, it says, a church should be led by biblically qualified leaders who teach biblical truth. And that looks like 2 Timothy 1:13 and 14. And then another one is 2 Timothy 13:16 to 17.
No,
3:16 through 17. 2 Timothy 4:2 and 1 Timothy 4:13, 1 through 9. And then what's the next one?
That's Titus.
Oh, Titus. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
Glasses, please.
I ain't got my glasses on, so I can't.
Nobody know where to open their Bible right now. Where? Yeah, use exotic. Use Philemon. Everybody knows that one.
Hey, we putting it on the screen too. Go ahead and put the next one on. Let me go ahead and battle through that one. That looks like Psalms 88, 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And man, I can't even read that.
Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation so that Israel's name is remembered no more. With one mind, they plot together. They form an alliance against you. So that goes back to what I was saying about the actual people were plotting against us to say, hey, we're going to stop you from being a nation. So until we realize, a lot of us don't even realize what's going on. Like as the global picture. Until we look at the global picture, then we'll know who's who, and we'll know why these people are fighting wars overseas, and we'll know, oh, okay, well, we can maneuver this way because the Bible say this right here. Hey, well, for all we know, they could be fighting for us or fighting against, what our result is going to end up being. We don't know, but. Well, actually, I do know, but that's another podcast.
Okay. Go with the third one there. This looks like Psalms 88, 3 through 18.
Oh, it's a
83.
I need you to stop.
Okay.
So Psalms chapter 83, verse 3 through 18.
I need you to
It
stop.
says, with cunning, they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish.
And then the last one is Genesis 1 and
chapter 1, verse 27. God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them.
All right. So let me go back to what I'd like to see in a church. One, I would like to be welcomed into the church, right? When I come to visit.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, when you find out who I am, because you're gonna ask me, well, what do you do, brother? Well, I used to teach at the college, I was a professor at the college. Oh, I run a nonprofit and I do this. Oh, well, that's great. So you got vehicles. That means you can pick up our church folks that need to come to church, and you can teach us this, and you can do that. And it's like, whoa, I just came to visit, and all of a sudden you want me to do all this stuff. Yeah, we need some brothers to cut the grass. We don't have enough to take care of the church. That's not why I came here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you come in here just to engage my labor and my mind, either physically or emotionally, I'm trying to get fed.
That's
I'm
wrong.
trying to visit.
That's
right?
wrong. That's wrong.
And so then there's one, you didn't want me there. Then when you find out what I can do, now you want to use me.
Yeah.
And that spirit is just such a big turnoff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the first two things. The other one is, and I know that the church is very traditional.
Nah, well, it's getting shaken up right now.
I know. What I mean by traditional is in the way that Sunday goes.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
The pastor or whoever preaches the sermon, but it's one way. And I know there's not a lot of space for dialogue, but I wish there was a way where maybe you could, because we're in the age of technology, that we can text a question to the pastor, and maybe we had 15 minutes for Q&A at the end, right? What is something that the preacher said that was like, can you elaborate on that more? Or how does that apply here? And we just spend that time, and we don't go over. We're not in there all day, but 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A at the end. And then for the questions that he doesn't get to, those things are submitted to him, and he's or her, or him, because I don't. That's a whole nother story. Yeah, him. And he actually takes the opportunity throughout the week to answer those questions and be in fellowship with his flock to help us to grow. Otherwise, those questions just kind of fall. So you can say, oh, go in your Bible and look and pray on it or Google it or do whatever. But I'm trying to do it with my own understanding. And so now I feel like there's no way to make that connection and engage. It's like, well, come to Bible study. Well, come to this. Oh, why don't you sing in the choir? Why don't you do all these things? Like,
so Bible study is the best way to probably get your question and answers. And they will say,
but we're just talking about Bible study oftentimes.
But they'll say pray.
It's already scripted.
And they will say pray on it, on whatever you're dealing with first, which is a good thing because they need to need to have an understanding of what you're dealing with.
So assume I have prayed on it. That's why I'm here. I came in here because I've already tried to figure it out. Okay. I couldn't. I prayed on it and it still wasn't working out. So now I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get up Sunday and I'm gonna go to church. So I have been in prayer about it.
So that's what your deacons are for,
right?
Yeah. So if a church don't have deacons, because your deacons, if the way you coming in is like, it's almost like like you having the spiritual crisis and you need to talk to somebody like right now today.
No, not necessarily right now today, but I'll give one last example and I'll pass it off. I was watching a YouTube show the other day, and the lady came into the emergency room. She was dressed to the nines, right? And she comes in there, and the doctor comes in, checks her out, and he's like, all right, everything seems to be good to go. You're good. And he gets to the door, and she says, doctor, I might look good on the outside. I got it all put together, but I'm not well. And she was suffering from a deep bout of depression, but the doctor couldn't see past how she looked physically because she was put together, had the makeup on, and wasn't a hair out of place, but she was hurt inside, right? And so if that can happen with us too, I don't have to come in with barefoot and I'm dirty and this and that. I can have my suit on and my tie on, but I'm hurting. I'm going through something and I need help, right? And so those assumptions and those judgments can be made wrongly in both directions, right? And then I'll land my plane.
No, because like you, I think it was the first or the second verse you put up, that they need to be trained biblically, because then they're gonna be trained to be able to discern when people need help.
But the whole church should be like that, right? What I'm saying
is, should be if they're being taught.
But I'm saying that's what I'm looking for. The question was, what are we looking for in a church if we were building a church?
But be realistic. You got to be realistic too.
I could.
Because every church at any given time, like say, especially in between the generation, the training is.
But I'm saying, I'm asking.
Don't have it.
I'm building the church.
Okay.
So I could. The reason why I think it's easy, right? Is there's 5 people in this room, and I could say, all right, the 5 of us. If someone rings that doorbell, we go to the door. We're gonna say, hey, how you doing? welcome to the conduit. So glad you came. What can we do for you? Come on in, right?
Yeah.
And then you come on in and we go from there.
Yeah.
And if we tell everyone, this is how we regard a stranger that we haven't met before, right?
Yeah.
Now, if he's wearing an overcoat, he's looking all dingy and white, dusty, and look like he got a AK-47, you might not, regard someone that way. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what you do, and that's an easy thing. And the church is where we learn more than just about God. We learn how to, take care of our lives and take care of our families every day, right?
Yeah.
Manners, grace, all of those things were staples of the Black church back in the day.
Of the Bible.
And those things are gone, right?
They all staples of the Bible.
All right. Well, someone want to jump in? I've made my point there.
Nah, Samuel had his story. So
Oh, go ahead, Samuel.
you done talked so long, he done forgot his story.
He had to get it out.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I forgot what it was.
No, it's all right.
We need to one. I don't agree with the mega churches because if they're so big, there's no training, or there's not enough training going around. More than likely. You kind of want for me, I would kind of prefer a small church because that way, you can get more one-on-one with the pastor if it's small. And then if you need help, you can, pastor, hey, I got questions, or hey, Deacon, I got questions. But if you need help, you got to be willing to stay after, and you hope those people are willing to stay after because they, in that position, they're supposed to care about everybody in the flock or everybody who's there.
Right.
So,
well, let me give you a different perspective, right?
Okay.
Was it you, Samuel, who said there shouldn't be a head? That was your thought on that, right?
I said
the leadership is
there's too caught up on titles.
If we take the Bible's approach, which Garland brought out, yes, but in today's churches, most of your deacons look like bodyguards. They look like hitmen up there.
Some of them are.
Yeah. I went to a few churches here lately, and most of the deacons, they just stand there. I work at a prison, and I have to have a posture and a look where if an incarcerate was to approach me and say, hey, I'm feeling suicidal, or I want to go to segregation for protective custody, if I stand like this, then there's no way that incarcerate would come to me.
Yeah.
So I went to a church recently, and the deacons, they were just standing like this. And when I look at that shows me that
they're not approachable.
You're not approachable. You want to go home. So that's I just think the how people in the African American church view the position need to be dismantled. Probably not the position, but because you're on the deacon board and you get the pastor's water, it doesn't make you no more of a person that's attending than I am.
Right.
If I give a $5, it don't matter if you gave $1,000. We
Ooh,
both gave,
and you do feel that in some of these churches. You have favor based on what you can give.
Oh,
if it's your talent, your money, right, or your time.
The story I had was I went to a barber shop. They closed at 7. I got there at 6:50, and I was just wearing some jeans and a shirt. The guy says, "Hey, we're closed." He was the owner. He was the owner. He said, "Hey, we're about to close up." I said, "Okay." But the gentleman walked in with a 3-piece suit. "Oh, come on, sit on down, my man." And then like this, and I'm like, "Wow." And that's what you get in church, you know. And some of the, I just say, some of the attire and clothing people wear in African American churches is not a fashion show. So if I go to church and I don't have what you have on, then you just lost me. Because now I'm looking at your position, I'm looking at the pastor's calling on you, your fence. I don't know. It's just.
I'll push back on that only on these 2 points. One, there's some cultural history with that for us. When from the times of slavery, right, church was the only time that we had for us. And as we moved out of slavery and into Jim Crow. We're working for the white man, and Sundays where we had church. So that's you dressed up for God, right? Has it gotten crazy on Easter where it's competition and
man.
you know, oh, mother such and such got this crazy yellow hat and this and that, and you know, Deacon Billy got the annihilated gators on.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's gotten out of control. But I think as a black community, we need to pull up our pants. We need to button up. And we used to go to baseball games with suits on, you know, dressed up with dresses, right? We've gotten away from that. And so I think there's something to be said about that. You don't put so much stock in it that we're worshiping. That has become an idol, right? That it's an idol, but we should be clean and we should be put together. And we are, again, in the house of the Lord. So we don't chew gum in the sanctuary. And if we can, we come clean, right? But God says, come as you are.
But come as clean as you can.
As you can.
But you shouldn't be disrespecting people who
There
can't.
folks coming on with jerseys because, hey, I'm going to the Seahawks game after. I see that more now. The pastor talking about the game in the pulpit. And all right, I'm going to let y'all out here in just a few minutes, 5 more minutes. I know the Saints is playing. And I know y'all want to get down and continue to see how. It's like, wow. So it's almost like it's a checkbox for you to get through church. It's like, oh, God, I did it. I went to church. If I die, then I'm going to heaven. I got my salvation. All right. Ooh, let's go on there.
Because that's not a thing. Because you go to church don't mean nothing. You gotta get. It's work to be done.
Yeah, big facts. So to kind of put the things that the two of you were saying, right, is taking away the importance of, you know, I've got this position. I'm deacon. I'm first lady. I'm whatever. And then following the priesthood, right? I kind of look at it as, I'm going to use an NFL analogy. You've got a head coach, but then you've got the offensive coach and you got the defensive coach. Now, the team can't win without having those two coaches, right? Now, you have a total head, the head coach, right? Because I think everything needs to have a head at the end of the day. But you have these other coaches that are there. So if Church A over here, or this gentleman over here, this fictitious gentleman, he is the head pastor, and we are all associate pastors, right?
Mm-hmm.
You run the prison ministry. You run the couples ministry. You're running the children's ministry. I'm running whatever ministry, right? And that's what we're doing. The head pastor doesn't preach every Sunday. You preach on first Sunday, you preach on second Sunday, I preach on third. Now we have time to engage with the flock, and it doesn't fall on just one head pastor, right? On top of that, as we pool our resources, because Black folks, we have no wealth. So we have to come together to have that wealth. And as we do that, because you said you don't believe in the mega church, right? Mm-hmm. But if we have the pastors at this level where you have that engagement, then we can have the grocery store. We can have the school. We can have the credit union. We can have the daycare, right? And now all of those things are here under the house of God, and everything is biblical. Our diet is biblical. The way that our children are being raised by our grandparents are biblical. The young families that have to have dual incomes and they can't get off work and get home, there's after-hour daycare, but they're in a church setting, right? Now we got that, right? We've got biblical teaching while we're learning our regular academics of math and science and language arts and all that, but God is at the base of all of that. Those are the things that would strengthen us going forward. Thoughts and ideas on that? I'll start with you, Rod. Could that work?
In theory, yes, it could. But within that, I mean, I think the first thing you have to do is lose the ego of man. Mm-hmm. That's what usually hinders all that, is that, wow, I'm over this. And then someone comes to you and you're like, no, I'm above that. That's not my plane of doing things.
Well, assume that we put in whatever parameters we did so that ego's in check and whatnot.
They're supposed to put time in before you get to be in that position. So they're supposed to, as you're being tested, mm-hmm. you may be hungry and thirsty at the bit, but they have to know, okay, are you humble enough?
Yeah, and no one should be so big that they can't get their shirt pulled. Yeah. You out of line, brother. I don't care if you're the associate pastor. You out of line.
Well, so that would be my job as an associate pastor, to see mm-hmm. him hey, and pull them aside
Right.
before the head pastor has to do it. Because we should be all equally humble and all
But
equally.
again, it
So
would have to
assuming
come
those
with
things are
ego.
in place, because ego is a part of humanity. We're not going to be able to get rid of ego. We could stifle it a little bit, but it's going to rise up from time to time.
Then I just don't see how you can have this without. I mean, I think you have to do more than stifle ego, because in the end, ego says, I want what he has. I want to be there. And then ego turns into ambition. Ambition blinds you to the actual mission of why you're there. I think a lot of people, and I won't say black people, I'm going to say people,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people aren't happy to be humble, aren't happy to just be in their lane. A lot of people always are looking up and I want this, I want this, I want this. And there's nothing wrong with ambition, but it's when you become the crabs in the barrel, that's when it gets bad. So I think in order for your plan to work, and man, great plan to have everything under one roof, ordained by God, that would be beautiful. But you had to get the man out of it. Once you take the man out of it, then I believe that you need enough humble spirits to pull that off. I think you just need humble
So
spirits.
you need a humble spirit in a leadership position. What's your thoughts, Samuel? Build on this conversation. Could this work?
I think it could be work if people were could check your ego and people weren't resistant to change. And I think it would work beautifully in a church that is a starting and forming. I don't know if it would work in a church that's 30 years old or 40 years old, because those people are kind of stuck in their ways.
Yeah,
set
we're
in
probably
their ways.
building something new, honestly. You know?
Yeah, you have to build something new, and everyone would have to be on board with this is what we're doing.
All right, we're gonna give the final word to Guylan here. Could that work?
Humility. It can work. Just humility.
So this plan could work. This church, as I laid it out, could possibly work.
Okay.
There's some checks and balances.
No, humility.
Humility.
Yeah, and for something like that to work, God will humble. If it's destined to work, God will humble those who need to be humbled. So,
All right. Well, this was a powerful conversation. What we'd like you to do is type your thoughts in the chat. We want your questions. We want your comments. Could this work? How could this work? Share your experiences share your negative experience, but also share your positive experiences. What can we share with some of the other churches that they may be able to start to use to be more inviting, right? A lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, I go into the church, like I said in the example, I'm not met with a welcome hello, and I don't go back. But I never gave them the opportunity to fix it. I never went and I spoke to the pastor and said, hey, I dropped an email and just said, I visited your church on second Sunday in April. And, I don't know who the sister was, but she approached me. Deacon approached me, and it was just really standoffish. And I really didn't want to come back, but I wanted to let you know and give you the opportunity to address it. And maybe I can try again. We don't do that enough with each other. And I think we're guilty of doing that at the church as well, right? So I'll take full responsibility of if I get rubbed the wrong way, then I'm just not going to come back. But I never did give them the opportunity to fix it. And I think that grace and humility that we're talking about, right, and pushing that ego down, well, y'all should have been right the first time, so you done lost me, missed me. We can humble ourselves and say, hey, this was my experience. I didn't really care for that, and see if they can fix it. But anyway, for Ron, for the poet, for the educator, I'm the professor. This is Marwan Cameron. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And as always, be blessed and highly favored. This is The Conduit.